Hi there everyone, good afternoon and welcome to this edition of Market Fatafat. This is the show where we get you a comprehensive wrap of all the stocks that are buzzing in today's trading session. Well, lots transpired overnight as we did see retaliation from Iran. So the geopolitical tensions continue to remain on the forefront. A massive nosedive in the global markets. Our markets too started off in tandem, but now in recovery mode. Still down about 0.7%. But 11,959 as the Sensex too has recovered. We're currently perched at 40,580. For the broader end of the market, the breadth continues to remain adverse, but no doubt you have seen a little bit of a reversal from the morning trades. And as the stage is set for the finance minister as well to announce the budget 2020, which is going to be another big trigger on the minds of market men, we spoke with Samir Arora from Helios Capital, and he believes the budget will be a big disappointment. He said the government needs to take bold steps in order to revive sentiment. Let's listen in.
The budget was the biggest negative that was there in this market because of the excitement that was built on how this whole world is waiting for this budget to bring up with a magical solution. And I thought that government doesn't have that many options. Gold is viewed as a hedge if something goes really wrong, if the currency in India weakens. So it's like buying an insurance which, even without there being very many obviously negative events, had a good return. And if there had been any big event, negative event, it would have even outperformed more. See, I was very bullish till early December on the basis that the corporate tax rate cut is a big event. It's a very big event, and it's obviously a direct benefit to the stock market, and that it would be accompanied over time with other events, other policies and measures that the government can take. Now, whether it is their fault or not, we don't know in some sense, but broadly the government has no room to cut aggressively personal taxes, to give tax cuts, and on the margin, not because of as a policy, but because of lack of choices, there is, on the other hand, need to raise money. Now, the other things that we look in a budget, which we call a good budget, is if they announce divestments. Now, here already divestments are announced and have to happen. Normally, the budget is considered good if it announces infrastructure investments or rural India investments, and then for a few hours, those stocks go up and down. Here, infrastructure, we already know that they have announced. So therefore, I feel that this overhype on budget will be a disappointment. But on the other hand, if the market falls for these reasons that are currently there before the budget, then maybe the budget will not be such a big negative.
All right, let's get a move on and kickstart the countdown. We've got with us Gaurav Ratnaparki, who is joining in on the technicals, and our team of research analysts as well with us. Varun Hirimat as well as Soumya Sharma. Great to have you all. Let's kickstart the show then with the first set of stocks that are in focus, and that no doubt is from the metal sector. In fact, HSBC has just come out with their recent note or report, if you will, on the sector. In fact, they're fairly bullish on the whole, and they believe that they will see a sharp recovery in the third quarter of FY20 in shipments, and that's largely going to be led by SAIL as well as JSPL. They see a more positive for the long producers versus the flat, and forecast that the entire universe of metals will report an aggregate standalone volume growth of nearly 15% on a year-on-year basis. For JSPL, they've maintained a buy. They've upped the target price to 240 rupees per share from the earlier 180 rupees. And SAIL, well, they've upgraded from reduced to a hold rating with a target price that's been up to 50 rupees versus 30 rupees. On Tata Steel, they maintain a hold. On JSW Steel, though, they have maintained a reduced rating. That's the verdict coming out on the metal stocks in HSBC's latest note. Moving on then to a banking name, and SBI is currently quoting at about 314. It's a bit tempered in trade, but there's been lots going on with the PSU banking lot as a whole. Gaurav, where does SBI stand among the lot? My voice is reaching you. Your view on SBI on the charts? Yeah, unfortunately, we haven't managed to get that line patched. Nonetheless, let's get a move on. Number 3 on the list is IPCA Laboratories. That stock is in focus in trade this afternoon. And why is that, Soumya?
This one off on back of TOI reports wherein they've mentioned that ChrysCapital has actually exited IPCA Labs in a deal which is worth over 560 crore rupees. Well, let me tell you, this is one of the largest homegrown trading firm, and they've operated their entire 4% stake in the...
We seem to be having just not the best of days when it comes to the audio line there. Times of India, reporting on IPCA Laboratories, and they are saying that ChrysCapital has exited IPCA Labs. This is in a deal with worth about 560 crore rupees. Getting a move on then, aviation sure is in focus. What's happening with crude oil prices, Varun?
Right, Avan. So, like you rightly just said, crude oil prices are obviously going to impact all aviation stocks on the P&L. Power and fuel forms the majority of the variable cost for any airline, and all of them are likely to see a dip in Q3 and Q4 because of the rising crude prices. Now, that also presents an opportunity for some players because the guys who have a stronger balance sheet can withstand this, whereas the weaker leveraged guys are just going to see themselves fall out of competition. But in the latest development today, we've had another crash from a Boeing plane. Now, it's a 737 plane, so we already know that Boeing has, a fair bit of issues revolving around the 737 MAX. Now, that typically impacts SpiceJet more because they have more of this kind of plane. These planes were grounded for a while, and until Boeing came up with the resolution for the problem or the software glitch, they were continuing to be on ban. Now, this was supposed to be lifted in a couple months because apparently the glitch had been sorted out. Now that another a crash has happened in Iran on the same type of plane, Boeing's definitely going to undergo some pressure again over here, and I don't think that those planes are going to be allowed to fly. So SpiceJet might have some load factor there. Also, just globally, Airbus overtook Boeing for the first time ever since 2011, just last week. So I definitely think Boeing stock's going to open down when the US markets open tomorrow as well, widening that gap. So that's a little aviation update from you. Going to impact SpiceJet more than Indigo, and might be an opportunity for Indigo where Spice has less carriers for a bit.
Right, that's the view coming in on some of those aviation stocks buckling under pressure. That's SpiceJet at 98.7. Moving on then, there's also L&T Finance Holdings. Well, that stock is in focus as the company's subsidiary, that's L&T Infrastructure Finance Company. Well, they are providing a term loan to AG&P. This is for the development of the city gas distribution networks. It's going to take place in South as well as West India. Now, AGP CGD is a subsidiary of Singapore-based AG&P Group, the global downstream gas and LNG logistics company. And this is a 518 crore rupee term loan for which the company has entered into close to $72 million US. The funds are going to be used to develop the city gas distribution networks of AG&P in Jodhpur, Barmer, Jaisalmer in Rajasthan as well as in Tamil Nadu. A quick look at that stock at 116 thereabouts. Getting a move on, then we didn't manage to flag off levels on SBI. We've got Gaurav back with us now. So Gaurav, what's the view on the charts?
Yeah, basically in the case of Bank Nifty, the index formed an ending diagonal pattern on the daily chart and tumbled down sharply. However, the index has now reached its daily lower Bollinger Band. Similarly, SBI has also reached its daily lower Bollinger Band. And in terms of retracement, the stock has retraced 38.2% of its October-November rally. So on the downside, 310, 308 is a crucial support zone to watch out for. However, breach of the support zone would mean continuation of the fall further. And in that case, 297 and 285 will be the targets to watch out for.
All right, keep an eye out there on SBI, some important levels being mapped out. Well, staying with banks, one bank that investors are waiting with bated breath to hear more commentary from on fundraising, without a doubt, is Yes Bank, Soumya.
Well, yes, in fact, the company has said that they'll be meeting on January 10th, that is this Friday, in order to talk about and discuss on the fundraising plans. Well, remember, this remains a really crucial and definitely lately it has been a pain point also for Yes Bank. In fact, a lot of credit agencies had also downgraded the stock on back of their inability to raise funds. So this is something that all the investors are definitely watching out for, and remains a crucial aspect in terms of company, maintaining their capital adequacy ratios and their sustaining their business going ahead.
All right, watch out for that name. Yes Bank currently quoting at 45. Perhaps on 10th of January, when we have a little more clarity, is when you could see some more traction in the stock. Well, let's keep it going then. And it's Tata Motors as well. That's a stock in focus at 181. The stock has remained in quite a tight range. Gaurav, do you reckon that it's a good time to nibble in? What are the charts suggesting?
Yeah, that's right. Basically, Tata Motors is one counter that's likely to outperform in this space from short to medium term perspective. The stock has rallied significantly from its September low of 106. From last 3-4 sessions, the stock is witnessing minor degree dip. However, that should be taken as an opportunity to initiate a fresh long position. Currently, the stock has come down to test its crucial daily moving averages, and on the occasions of minor degree dips, these averages have been acting as good supports, and the same is expected this time as well. So one can look to initiate a fresh long position in Tata Motors somewhere around 180, 175, and on the higher side, 200, 210 will be the targets to watch out for.
Right, 210, that's the level to watch out for. For now, subdued in today's trading session. Let's get a move on then, and there's some news that's brewing in Kotak Mahindra Bank. What exactly is that, Varun?
Right, Avan. So, this has been a very long deliberation where the RBI and the regulator basically been going toe-to-toe with Uday Kotak about him bringing his stake down below 20%. Now, he obviously has had some issues with doing this, and we all do know that Kotak Mahindra Bank stands for the gold standard in banking as far as corporate governance goes, at least. So tomorrow is the next hearing with the Supreme Court, where he will again challenge the ruling which is asking him to bring his shareholding below 20%. Now, one interesting thing to look at, apart from the regulation aside, is that if you bring this man's stake down to the desired valuation, you are bringing thousands of crores of supply into the counter. So it's definitely going to hurt the existing shareholders and hurt the stock price a fair bit if he is directed by RBI or the regulator to sell a certain amount of stock. So tomorrow is the hearing, and we'll have the verdict, and the stock seems to be under a fair bit of pressure today surrounding this, but obviously it's gone on for a while, and investors are really expecting a close. So we'll update you with more details tomorrow.
Certainly watch out for that candidate. It's going to be in focus, but that's stock number 10 that's flashing on your screens, and that is Tata Steel. In fact, it continues to remain in focus. Just, do remember there was very strong commentary that came at the start of the week from Chairman N. Chandra, and he had said we can't keep funding losses at the loss-making Port Talbot plant. So that was a very stern sounding really coming. And on the heels of that, the stock as well is also in focus for another reason. This is largely on the back of the fact that the company's subsidiary has got the license for a chromite ore mine in Odisha. This is for the next 50 years. So the chromium from the ores of chromite is used for the manufacturing of these stainless steel, tool steel, as well as some of the armor-pierce projectiles, and that's keeping the stock in focus in today's trading session. They have also the government of Odisha has issued to TS Alloy, which is the wholly owned subsidiary, on that letter that they are a successful bidder for the grant of that mining lease, and that of course is subject to certain conditions. 469, that's where the stock is currently at. Getting a move on then, let's pull up ICICI Bank for you, and that stock is currently at 519. Still continues to remain a favorite, one of the preferred bets. Gaurav, let's look at this from a slightly long-term time frame. If you had to, pencil out the chart trajectory, give a long-term target price for ICICI Bank, what would it be?
Yeah, that's right. The stock is currently forming a short-term correction. However, that is just a wave 4 correction, which means that wave 5, that is the next leg of an impulse on the upside, is still pending. From short-term perspective, the stock can come down towards the reverse channel line, which is around 507. However, one should look at the stock from buy on dips kind of perspective, and one can initiate a fresh long position near 507. And once the fifth leg on the upside starts, it can take the stock towards its weekly upper Bollinger Band, which is placed somewhere around 570. So that's the upside potential the stock has from short to medium term perspective.
Okay, there you have it. That's the view on ICICI Bank. Let's just quickly get in and check as to what the mood is in the market at a time when you've got crude oil prices flaring up, the currency under pressure, geopolitical tensions that are rife, the fact that our markets aren't quite cracking in tandem with that. You've got the budget as the next big event that's less than a month from now. Well, the rise with India small case is indicating a reading of about 573. That's down 0.5%. Well, down nearly 1% back down on the index. Keep monitoring those rates we're at 11,955. Get you more stocks that are buzzing in today's trading session when we're back on the other side. This is Market Fatafat. Welcome back. 11,965 on the Nifty as we speak. Do remember, as of now, the overall environment continues to remain very precarious with respect to the geopolitical concerns. PSU banks, media, metals, auto, as well as real estate, all in the red. And by the way, none of your sectoral indices are managing to hold out. Well, let's get a move on then and get you some more stocks that are buzzing in today's trading session. NCL Industries, that's an interesting name, Soumya. We don't flag it off too often, but what's keeping the stock afloat?
Well, Awan, we have a Q3 operational update from this company wherein they've said that their cement production was almost down by over 23% on a YY basis. And in fact, their dispatches also were down by over 22% on a YY basis. Well, this definitely is not really a positive aspect in terms of the new Q3 operational numbers. And we're seeing stock price under pressure on back of this. In fact, as a whole, as far as the cement pack is concerned, we expect the industry to actually post subdued set of numbers, and in fact in wake of this we just have one update from NCL Industries, and the stock's quite in pressure on back of this development.
All right, that's the view coming in. Keep an eye out on that stock in today's trading session. Let's get a move on then and focus in on another stock, and that is Alkyl Amines. A quick view on that, Varun?
Yeah, Van, it's a top company. It's done really well in the last year. The stock price has more than doubled. It's one of only two listed players in the amine space. Its main competitor being Balaji Amines, but it has a much better track record as far as corporate governance goes and revenue growth. Now, if you look at the last 8 quarters, they've consistently grown revenues and margins. It's a debt-free company. They do all their capex primarily from internal accruals, and we're basically flagging it off because it's a top player in the chemical space, which is making a 52-week high today, and there's very few select stocks that are under a 3,000 crore market cap from the broader markets. So they're essentially small caps that can say that they've more than 2x'd in the last year and also built a strong moat around their business. So those are roughly the reasons for Alkyl Amines.
Okay, keep an eye out at 1223. Getting a move on then, it's NBCC as well, and that stock continues to hog the limelight. Of course, we will be keeping an eye out on what happens with respect to the budget, some announcements in infrastructure that would strongly be awaited. But nonetheless, the company has received orders quite decent in FY20, closely to 12,000 odd crores, and in the month of December, 1,090 crore rupees is what they've secured business worth. The management as well is very confident of beefing up their overall order inflow as well going into the new year. And that's the latest on NBCC. As of now, the stock is currently quoting at about 34.3, tempered in today's trading session in tandem with the rest of the market. Bajaj Finance then, this continues to remain a true blue name. It has performed quite well, but at 4,000 rupees, Gaurav, you have a bearish stance?
Yeah, that's true. Basically, Bajaj Finance recently formed a bearish price pattern called a double top at around 4,300 mark, and since then the stock is heading towards south, and on the way down the stock has broken its crucial daily moving averages and is currently trading near its daily lower Bollinger Band. So it can take a momentary pause at around 39.50, 39.20. However, overall structure shows that the short-term correction is not yet over. When the daily and weekly momentum indicators are indicating further downside for the counter. So I'm expecting the stock to head lower towards 3,800 and potentially to 3,650 as well.
Okay, watch out for that name. Bajaj Finance just about tottering around the 4,000 mark. Getting a move on then, Naveen Fluorine, let's connect with Soumya to find out why the stock is very active in today's trading session, comfortably in the green by about 4%, Soumya.
Well, yes, in fact, we have a latest update wherein the company yesterday informed the exchanges that Devas plant in Madhya Pradesh has actually commenced operations, commercial production with effect from January 6th. In fact, this is a positive development given this will definitely bump up their capacities and their productions going ahead. Not just this, in fact, the entire chemical space lately has been in focus for sharp gains that we're seeing. In fact, particularly talking about Navin Fluorine, this is the second consecutive month that we're seeing the stock on a gaining spree. In fact, in the month of December, we did see the stock rallying close to about 16%. And in fact, today's up move is a continuation of the kind of returns that the company has been posting for the past few weeks.
Thanks very much, Soumya, for giving us those details. And thanks much to the rest of the team as well for joining in on this leg of Market Fatafat. And as we wind it down, we've got Ramesh Sokti speaking to Nikunj Dalmia, talking about the road ahead for IndusInd Bank and where he sees the bank in another 10 years.
Basics of being a universal bank are not going to change. And of course, if I say that I'll be more digital and less physical and all those sort of thing, every bank is going to be that. I think that's not going to be the differentiator. I think if I am around to see 2030, then if I see IndusInd back to that 4 times price to book.
I'm sure that'll happen before that.
I want to see that.
Okay.
Right? Therefore, the continued success of the organization is prime in my mind. And I really I'm not one of those guys saying, oh, well, I did it, when I went away, everything fell apart. That's not the way. That's not the legacy we want to do. So, I would not see IndusInd as the number 1, number 2, number 3 bank. We will never be that size, because if I am growing at 25% and somebody else grows at 20%, that 20% will be higher than my absolute growth. Right? So it's not a catch-up game. IndusInd is never going to be in the catch-up game. IndusInd is always going to be number 1, number 2, number 3 in terms of return on assets, return on equity, interest margin, cost to